Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Wednesday, the 27th of January, which makes this the news and events for Monday, January 26th, day 1432 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you shivering and in the dark from this major European capital, which is currently under siege. How's everybody doing tonight? There's Anthony Tommy Tom sending us some sunflowers, a little ray of sunshine from the UK. Hey, Robert Stewart Key, how you doing? Buonasera, Vittoria. Como stai? How's everybody doing tonight, huh? Hey, Nightshade, how you doing, buddy? Hey, Pete. Hey, Alice. Hey, Feisty. There's our girl, Feisty. Richard Prexis, how do you do? G2. How is everybody doing tonight? Victoria's well. That's great. The algorithm is strange. Hey, Den. Tisno, I want to talk to you, actually. Send me a direct message, would you, pal? I would appreciate it. Dude, I haven't made a quiche since I've been in this country. I should make a quiche. Hey, John. Hey, Steve McStevens. Hey, Super User. Hey, Mr. Local. Well, Super User, we'll talk about that a little bit. What is it now? It's day 3 of the antibiotics, and I think you can hear like it's taking hold. But man, I'll tell you, the last 3 days, it's nothing but sleep and eat and sleep and eat. It's basically all I can do. I'm pretty fucking worthless, I gotta tell you. Thank you, Mr. Local. I sure do appreciate it. But that story, the story of being sick, of getting sick, is really what I want to talk about tonight. Hey, Grotland. Hey, Den. Hey, Scotty. Hey, Lars. So it does appear, since they sold, hey, Neil Steven. Dutch Cossack, how you doing, buddy? What's going on with you? I'm doing okay. We're going to do an update here in a second. Dutch, you want to come up? You want to say hello to everybody? You want to mention anything about what you're doing with the nets and stuff? Busy, busy, busy. Why can't I invite you live? Why is that not a thing? Did that work? I don't know, but Dutch, I think I invited you up. So if you'd like to take a minute.
Yes, it worked.
There you go. Hey, everybody. If you don't know Dutch Cossack, you might have heard me mention him because he's the guy who got me the power bank and the backup supply that lets me stay online even when there's no power, most of the time anyway. And so I remain very grateful to that, even though, gosh, Dutch, that must be 2 years ago, right?
It's been quite some time ago, yeah.
Everything's working beautiful, though, buddy. I'll tell you. You keep me in business. You've kept me in business.
Glad to hear that, buddy.
But that is the least of the things that Dutch has done here in Ukraine. And right now, I think the drone nets initiative is probably the biggest and most critical thing you're working on. Do you want to explain to everybody what it is you're doing? Because I think it's important to hear this. I mean, if you don't know about this, give Dutch a few minutes of your time here.
Okay, thanks, Peter. So we are shipping as many nets as we can to Ukraine. Those are any type of nets. So used fishing nets that otherwise would be either recycled or just thrown away. Bulb nets that they use in the tulip growing business. fruit nets that they cover fruit trees with, even nets from football fields or tennis courts. Any type of net we are gathering, loading into trucks and sending to Ukraine. It's a large.
And why? Why is this important?
So it's important because it literally saves thousands of lives. The nets are hung up around roads, like on the sides and above, sort of like tunneling, essentially, roads. The Russian kamikaze drones get caught in the nets instead of striking vehicles on their way to the front line, for example. Positions, equipment, like tanks, artillery, anything. Hospitals are even protected with nets to stop incoming drones. I heard not long ago about an experiment of several layers of fishing nets, like really the nets from the sea, the really strong ones, that they can even stop Shahed drones.
Multi-layered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
So just to be clear for everybody here, what the idea is, you've got these aerial targets incoming, you put up the net, they get caught in the net like a fly in a spider web, and that saves the lives of the people on the other side of the net. And Dutch, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, you and the extended network that you work with, the last number I heard, I think, was 16,000 tons of nets have been brought into the country.
Yes. I'm not sure exactly about the number of trucks of partners, but like we did through my foundation, we did half. And we're now at 475 trucks with nets, averaging like 18 to 20 tons of nets that have been brought there. The other part did a similar amount. So let's say roughly we did over 900 trucks with nets in total since the late 22 altogether. So that would add up to a little bit more than 16,000 tons of material, which is incredible. And it's hard to believe that I'm a part of it, that I'm in this. Of course, I'm grateful. I'm happy that I can do something like this.
And Dutch, what do you call the initiative, and where can people find you?
People can find me, for instance, via the website. Well, I got a TikTok. I show lots of stuff on my TikTok. The website is lifeguardians.eu. I updated it not that long ago, actually. So I'll if you're okay with it, I'll type it in the comments.
Yeah, please do. And if you don't follow Dutch, I'd give him a follow, guys. Just follow him right from here.
Oh, the life is stuck. Hello?
Staining University. Dutch, do you need money or nets or both?
Both.
Both.
We have some sources in Europe where we can collect nets. One source, there's still about roughly 200 truckloads left. We are finding different locations in Europe. For instance, the fruit nets are the latest addition in the collection, so to say. Transport costs money. So how that works is that Ukrainian commercial trucks come to Europe, either Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, whatever, they're in the neighborhood. Then on the way back, they bring nets. And in that way, we pay half the transport costs. So that makes it already cheaper. So depending on the season, depending on the market, on average, a truck costs 3,000 euros. And that truck will then carry about 18 to 21 tons of nets to Ukraine.
Okay.
So,
is there anything else you got going on, man?
well, the general collecting medical supplies, mostly what we get delivered to our warehouse is clothing, but clothing is not really that high on the priority list. We're trying to collect mattresses, blankets, pillows, like anything that's useful for rehabilitation centers and hospitals.
Is there a needs list on the website?
That's actually a good one. I never got around to do that.
Okay.
And then because of all things going on, I never thought about it again. That's actually a good one. Yeah.
So lifeguardians.eu, Dutch Cossack is our contact there. Thanks a lot, Dutch, for everything,
thank you,
man.
Peter, and everyone for the gifts. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
Thanks, pal. So I saw Altered Carbon came in. Altered Carbon is the sponsor of tonight's live. Altered Carbon, I apologize. You were supposed to be Friday, and I don't know what happened. I'll tell you what happened. Everybody knows what happened. On Thursday night, I completely melted down, if you remember. And a lot of you reached out to me saying you should go to the doctor, especially a guy named Rick, who was very concerned about my health. But guys, you know, the reality is, walking around Kyiv today, talking to Kyivans today, I couldn't help, it's impossible not to notice how exhausted everybody is. I had Sergey, the property manager, come by the apartment today. By the way, it was 7 degrees Celsius in my apartment today, despite the fact that the heat is on. Sergey comes by. Sergey is a big guy. Like, I'm a big guy, but Sergey's a big guy. He's an enormous, barrel-chested bull of a man. He's always got a smile plastered on his face. He's always got a ham-handed handshake to give you. He looked utterly defeated today. Eyes downcast, shoulders slumped, face all red and blotched, unfocused, not with it at all. Signs of ill health. I saw Dragon today. Dragon is absolutely at his wit's end. I mean, he's got a smile on his face. He keeps showing up, but you can see the exhaustion. You can see the veins, the blotched skin, the absolute distance stare of the person who cannot focus on what is happening in the moment because they have burnt the candle at both ends for so long. Everybody here is exhausted, and much of the city is unlivable. You all know that for 16 days I stayed in my apartment with no heat and very little power. And then I got sick. What I have not disclosed, except to a few people, is that I'm currently being treated for pneumonia. So it's a serious, right? It's not like I caught a cold. I've got pneumonia. So staying in a 45-degree apartment was no longer an option. And so I had to come to this hotel. I don't want to be in this hotel. I do not want to have to leave Kyiv early, but I'm going to have to. The city is unlivable. Look, I don't know who you are. Oh, I ruin everything. You were trying to get out before you got sick. That's just not true. I have travel planned because my buddy's wedding is coming up. I'm not supposed to leave town until the 1st. I'm out of the apartment now because I've got fucking pneumonia. Are you listening to me? And the city is not livable. When you're sick like this, you can't. For somebody my age, and look, the reality is that Kyivans are dying. People here are dying. We've had 3 energy workers die on the job from exhaustion or from electrocution, just trying to keep the grid up and running, trying to get power and heat to people. And thanks to the international partners. I mean, everybody has stepped up in such incredible ways. Generators have come in from all kinds of European cities. Boilers, the Italians have sent 78 industrial boilers to provide supplemental heating. Lithuania took apart and packed up an entire Soviet-era thermal power plant, and it's being reassembled here right now. I saw a couple comments there that this is what Putin wants. Absolutely, this is what Putin wants. And it is obscene to me that Donald Trump has invited Vladimir Putin onto his Gaza peace board. This is obscene. Absolutely obscene. It is very telling that this action, now look, it is important to recognize that the men and women who fix things here, who have kept everything running through, this is now the 4th winter of these attacks on energy infrastructure, have done an incredible job. But this year, Russia has expanded its drone production to now 12,000, we believe, Shahed drones a month. Back in August, it was 5,400. Right now, it's 12,000. They can send these massive drone swarms night after night. 100 drones a night is an easy night. 100 drones a night is an easy night today. And of course, the big hit last week that really killed everything here was that 350 plus drone attack with 30 missiles on top of it. As difficult as that is for everybody here, in all of this, there are glimmers of hope. Remember, Putin is doing this against the backdrop of the first trilateral talks, US, Russia, and Ukraine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with all due respect, we've been listening to Kyiv call for talks like this for 4 years. And Vladimir Putin has repeatedly refused. Why is he suddenly meeting? Why is he meeting now? He's meeting now because he's at the end of his rope. For the first time in 4 years of the full-scale invasion, the amount of soldiers signing contracts to go to the SMO is being exceeded by the losses. We believe to the tune of 20,000 men a month. 20,000 men a month deficit. And that's happening against the backdrop of the new Minister of Defense, Mikhail Fedorov, making the commitment to unalive 50,000 Russian soldiers a month. This guy is great, I gotta tell you. If you've never heard of this guy, Mikhail Fedorov was one of the first Ukrainian cabinet ministers I ever heard of. Formerly, he was the Minister of Digital Transformation, young guy, 34, I think, something like that, mid-30s. Young guy. And before I made the decision to come here, I started following him on LinkedIn. He was the first Ukrainian politician or government official that I ever followed. And from the beginning, he was an impressive individual. He's behind the digital transformation of Ukraine, the DIA, the electronic data system that all Ukrainians carry all of their paperwork with them on their phones all the time. It's an innovative approach to documentation in the 21st century. He's behind Brave One, the technology initiative to drive innovation, particularly in the drone and weapons manufacturing space here in Ukraine. And he has recently moved into the role of Minister of Defense. And can I tell you something? The Russian mill bloggers are afraid. They are afraid of this man. They know very well that the drone superiority of the Ukrainian armed forces, the drone initiative and innovation was directly driven by this man. And now he's the Minister of Defense, and he is making the commitment to unalive 50,000 Russians a month moving forward. And it's happening. We're seeing it increasingly on the battlefield as robots replace people. Oh, shoot. Nightshade, how do you spell such a memos? Such a memos? Oh, no, it's not such a memos. I apologize. No, I'm wrong. It's reporting from Ukraine. Guys, look, everybody here knows I'm not a military person. I'm not a weapons expert. I don't know shit about shit. But I find the experts, the people who know, the people who are consistently right about things. And then I try to communicate what I've learned from them to the world. And reporting from Ukraine, who you can find on YouTube, has the most incredible, dramatic footage of drone-on-drone warfare and drones supporting drones today in Ukraine. I'm not going to try to do it justice. I'm going to encourage you, if you're interested in this thing, to take a look at the reporting from Ukraine piece from today, because it's amazing. The bottom line is this. The Ukrainians are preserving their own lives by putting drones out there to unalive Russians and keeping the operators back where it's safe. And it's working. It's working. We're seeing in Pokrovsk a 15-to-1 casualty ratio between Russians and Ukrainians. 15-to-1. And it's all down to the unmanned systems forces and this new generation of ground robots armed with 50-millimeter guns. It's extraordinary. And the genius behind all of it, well, I shouldn't say that, but rather the administrator, the competent administrator who has created the fertile and rich ground in which many people's ideas can grow and be fed and be tested and be put into action, right? Exemplifying that animating spirit of fraternal cooperation, which is the hallmark genius of our species, is Mikhail Fedorov. And the Russians are afraid. I was listening to some Russian mill bloggers going on about this guy. They are deeply concerned about his comments that he is going to start unaliving 50,000 Russians a month. They know they can't afford it. They're not recruiting enough as it is to replace what they are losing. And so when we think about the desperate situation here inside the city, the silver lining to this story is that Putin is desperate. He's not recruiting enough men to replace the men he's losing. They've lost the innovation war. The sky is full of Ukrainian drones. The ground is littered with Ukrainian drones. And the Russians are riding horses and donkeys. We're seeing the devolution of the Russian war machine in real time because of the corruption and incompetence of the regime in Kyiv, in Moscow, in the Kremlin, the regime in the Kremlin. Sorry, I am sick. Forgive me. That's not all. That's hardly all. We could go on, as I have, for hours and hours about the crumbling, brittle nature of the Russian economy. But there's something else to talk about. And that's, why is it that when Russia wanted to do all this damage to Kyiv, they only sent 350 drones and missiles? That's half of the biggest attack on Kyiv. Half. Why don't they send more? They don't have them. They don't have them. And here's how we know. This is such a memos. If anybody can properly spell such a memos, would you please type it in the chat? Such a memos. This poor guy's got a name as bad as mine. It's a terrible name. Almost as bad as Alexievich. But today, Such a Memos published the pictures provided by the main military intelligence directorate of Ukraine of the production dates of the missiles that came in over the weekend. The production dates. December 15th, 2025. January 4th, 2026. January 7th, 2026. December 17th, 2025. The missiles that the Russians are using were manufactured in the last 4 weeks. Do you guys remember at the start of the war? Think back to the start of the war. Remember, the Russians are the great inheritors of the Soviet regime, of the Soviet stockpiles, 80 years of stockpiled weapons. I remember at the beginning of the war, a woman here in Kyiv went home after work to find a Russian missile in her living room. That unexploded ordnance had a production date of 1954, 1 year after Stalin died. It had been pulled out of the Soviet stockpiles because that's what you do. You fire the oldest weapons first and you work your way up. In 4 years between, now Grotland, you're not wrong, right? Grotland is saying there, I thought that they had reached the bottom of the stockpiles a couple of years ago. You're not entirely wrong. What they've done is they've increased production. So at the beginning of the war, the Russians were producing, I want to say something like 24 Iskander M's a year. Today, they're producing 720. So while it is true that they have burned through the stockpiles, they have also ramped up the production capacity and the war economy inside of Russia. And so these KH-101s with production dates of 2026, one would think if you're firing those, that's all you got left. Now, it's not just the Russians burning through the Soviet stockpiles. There's another aspect to this, and that is the Ukrainians striking the Russian main missile directorate arsenals, right? The GRAU arsenals. About 18 months ago, we saw GRAU Arsenal 51 destroyed in an explosion that registered a 2.4 on the Richter scale. The largest single the largest single demolition of conventional munitions in the history of the human race. And that was only one of 4 arsenals that the Ukrainians blew up that year. We saw them hit another one recently, GRAU Arsenal 100. These are Soviet stockpiles that are being struck and destroyed today. The arsenals in the Far East, we have good intelligence to indicate that they have all been emptied. They have all been emptied. Because early in the war, as these arsenals were using up the missiles from the 50s, they were bringing replacements from the East. That's all over now. They're all gone. They're all gone. Russia is on the precipice of a deep failure, a shortage of men and manpower, and a shortage of weapons and equipment. Russia is rapidly approaching 12,000 tanks destroyed in Ukraine, 33,000 armored personnel carriers destroyed in Ukraine, a similar number in the 30,000s of artillery pieces destroyed in Ukraine. The Russians don't have the air defense to defend oil refineries and military industrial complexes inside of Russia. Last night, we saw the Ukrainians strike. We think it's a drone strike. It might not be. There's a lot of damage. It's not clear to me at this juncture. I'll try to find out for the next time we meet. But in Kuban on Don, the oil refinery there is burning today. Russia, which is not really a country, but just a gas station with nukes cosplaying as a country, can't sell the world gasoline. They refine, or rather they produce, or they should be producing. Their quota from OPEC is to produce 9.2 million barrels of crude oil a day. And then it used to be they refined about 5 million barrels a day. Today, they're only refining 3 million barrels of crude a day, which is basically just what they need. That means they have nothing extra to export, and that's where the money is. We're still in a refined oil export ban for the Russian Federation, self-imposed, because they need those critical supplies in the country. A major source of revenue cut off right there. Then there's the natural gas pipelines and sales to Europe, which are non-existent today. The bottom has fallen out of the natural gas industry for the Russians. That's a huge source of revenue that is gone. We see Russian revenue sources. Russia used to be the second largest arms dealer in the world. Today, they've fallen to third, or maybe, I don't know, I haven't seen the final 2025 numbers. They might be down to fifth. because nobody wants their shit anymore. The whole world is watching the failures of Russian equipment on the battlefield, and nobody wants it. The world is watching as Israel sends missiles to Iran, and the Russian air defenses in Iran fail to intercept those missiles. And the missiles, in fact, destroy the Russian air defenses in Iran. Today, we're getting incredible footage of the Russians' final withdrawal from Syria. Whatever it was that the Russians thought that they could sweet talk the new regime in Syria with, it appears to have failed. Russia is turning tail and leaving Syria. I think much to the betterment of the Syrian people. So as difficult as the situation in Ukraine is for everybody here, there is a silver lining. It is much worse for the Russians. It's true, we are shivering in the dark here. That's a true thing. But the Ukrainians aren't pulling any punches. We saw the thermal power plant and substations over the weekend hit in Belgorod, Oriel, and Taganrog. And all those places are in the dark and cold today. Hundreds of thousands of Russian households. So the Ukrainians are giving as they get. The only thing is there's millions of Russians in the dark and the cold today because the infrastructure in Russia has not been maintained in this kleptocratic culture of theft. We've got power outages, significant power and heat outages in Perm, Komi, the southern district of Moscow, and Murmansk. Murmansk is going on 72 hours now. And the people of Murmansk are not happy about it. They have taken to Telegram. Russian Telegram channels are lit up like Christmas trees, complaining, why are we spending trillions of rubles in Ukraine when we don't have a functioning power grid? And I think that's the right question for the Russian people to be asking. It's exactly the right question for the Russian people to be asking. And the answer is clear. The corruption of Russian officials who have pocketed the money rather than do the infrastructure upgrades and maintenance. It'll get you, boy. It'll get you. I see different things, people talking about these trilateral talks. In the Russian papers today, most of the state paper, Nezavimaya Gazetia, is very down on the talks, does not see much hope at all. Moskovsky Komsomolsk, on the other hand, seems to think that there's progress being made. So we're getting mixed messages from the Russian papers. I think everybody here knows my opinion. You cannot negotiate with terrorists. Putin will never negotiate in good faith. And so any agreements that come out of this are agreements of the moment for the Russians. And they will find a way to blame Ukraine for why they have canceled them or why they have, ignored them and attacked again. It is disconcerting to me that with Russia in the state that it is in, even at the same time, ironically, they have managed to subvert the lawful government of the United States in what is undoubtedly the biggest win that Putin ever got, the re-election of Donald Trump, his whipping boy to do his will and destroy the United States from inside, because it can't be destroyed from outside, right? You got to do it inside. And God knows Trump is doing a hell of a job on that. But it is very disconcerting to me that with Russia on edge the way it is, that the Europeans are ramping up defense spending for themselves rather than Ukraine. I mean, this is our chance. This is our chance to end 500 years of Russian history and the threat that they are to the world. This is our chance now. Look, you take Russia out, you don't have to spend all that money on missile defense and golden domes and a standing army. You just don't, because the threat is neutralized. It is disappointing to me. Sorry, 1 second. You know, I never met a guy named Rooster that was a good guy. Never once. Every Rooster I ever knew was a piece of shit con artist, meth head, thief, piece of shit. Every Rooster I ever knew. If any, and I know that's a broad generalization. It's just my own experience. But every Rooster I ever knew. Anyway. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ukraine is tired. The Ukrainians are resilient. The Ukrainians are strong, but they are not immortal. They are not heroes. I mean, they are heroes. There's everyday heroes here every day, but they're not superheroes. They're real people. I told the story the other day of one of my friend's neighbors, an elderly woman who threw herself from the roof of their building and is only alive by happenstance, but she is alive. The despair is seeping into the bones of the Ukrainian people like the cold is. The other day, I swear, Thursday night when I lost it on the live, I'm sorry about that. But Thursday night when I lost it on the live, man, I really felt like I was never going to be warm again. That's how I felt. This is a real humanitarian crisis of unprecedented proportions. This is the worst it has been. Bar none. Bar none. Okay. So, again, I want to thank Altered Carbon, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. I want to thank Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces. And I particularly want to thank the best moderator team on the Tickety Talk. Roy, Feisty, Travis, and I'm so pleased to welcome back Pete. Thank you, Pete. Thanks, everybody. So questions, comments, points of observation. Can Ukraine target Moscow energy hub, maybe combined missile drones, F-16s? F-16s are not an option, right? Moscow, you'd have to fly into Russian airspace. Not an option. You'll get shot down. So it's too far away. It's out of range for the F-16s. The other problem with targeting Moscow is that it is ringed by 220 plus air defense systems. It seems unlikely. And now I will say, I do not have this on good authority. This is an amateur opinion of my own. But looking at it and looking at the fact that the Ukrainians don't strike it every day, they strike it quite a bit. Drones go to Moscow every day, almost every day. but they get shot down. They mostly get shot down. And I think that that's because of these 220 plus air defense systems that ring the city. And I think the reason why we see targeted strikes against infrastructure in Moscow and against particular military targets in Moscow. But what we don't see is a flamboyance of flamingos flying that way. And I think that that's because the Ukrainians are concerned it would be a waste of time. I think so. So I think that rather than see any big hits on Moscow, and I could absolutely be wrong. I don't know the minds of the planners here. But I don't think we're likely to see any big strikes on Moscow. Targeted strikes, yes, where the Ukrainians think they can be successful. But they're going to choose more targets of necessity that are closer to the front, more critical for Russia's ability to prosecute the war. I think that's what we're going to see first. And we're seeing it, right? We're seeing the hits on Belgorod, Oriel, Taganrog virtually every day. I hope that answers the question, Yvonne. If you got a follow-up, chat it in. Thanks, Kennedy. You know, human beings are not good when they're hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And I was all for last week, that's for sure. They are Truth Hurts. And in fact, there's more of them now than ever before. So Truth Hurts says, are the points of invincibility, the warm tent still operating, where Ukrainians can go and get warm and get food and get their devices recharged? Yes. And in fact, there are more than ever. I think the program was expanded to beyond 1,500 now. So there's more than 1,500 of these places across the city that people can go. Ukrainians use logic and planning. Yes, they do. They do. It's great to watch. Switch returning ghost ships with captured ones full of explosives. The Russians aren't that dumb. I'm angry when cold. Yeah, me too, Kiwi Annie. Oh, hey, Kiwi Annie. On the subject of Kiwis, where are my Wellington and Auckland folks? Is there anybody here in Wellington or Auckland? I hope that the weapons keep flowing for Ukraine. So do I, Annie. Even ghost ships are ineffective if the ports are taken out. Yeah, you're not kidding. Where is the wedding you will be going to in February? It's in China, the People's Republic of China. So I have never been to Asia. This will be my first trip. I'm very excited. I have to finish this course of antibiotics and get a clean bill of health, but hopefully it's not going to be a problem. This winter is so difficult, Mike, because first of all, you have 3 winter campaigns, 3 winters of the Russians bombing the shit out of the heating and energy infrastructure, right? Having destroyed 80% of Ukraine's thermal power plants, having hit every single one of them. You have the accumulated damage of 3 winters. Then you have the reality that the Russians have ramped up drone production to double what it was just in August, up to 12,000 units a month now. They can send much bigger swarms, and that's what they've been doing, and damaging the infrastructure exponentially. It's also possible they've got better reconnaissance, that they know better where to hit to do damage, having learned successive lessons over the last 3 years. Make sure you don't have a picture of Winnie the Pooh on your phone. Oh yeah, he's real sensitive about that, isn't he? Okay. Good thinking, Uncle Christopher. Kyle Harburg. Now, Kyle, I apologize. I don't recognize your name. I don't know if you hang out here regularly. But dude, anybody in Wellington or Auckland, I'd love to chat with you a little bit. If you send me a direct message, I will reach out to you. Operation Spider Ship. You have to be talking about. Now, look, I've never heard that name before, but I have to assume you were talking about the hits on Russian tankers in the Mediterranean Sea using aerial drones. Where are they coming from? Well, they're probably coming off a container ship someplace. Trump's keeping Americans busy fighting ICE and Epstein files, so sorry to Ukraine. Honest to God, Mike Kelly, doesn't make you crazy. Crush all Black Sea Russian ports. Oh. I am definitely ill, Nana Pam. I'm not well. You can probably hear it in my voice. You can hear I'm congested still. It's day 3 of the antibiotics, so I am feeling better, but not great. Close to Wellington, but there's sea between. Are you on like an island or a peninsula or something? I mean, that is the thing, Den, right? The Russians know Ukrainian technology because it's Soviet technology. So Den is saying here, Russia has all the plans for the older TPP thermal power plants and generation locations because they helped build them. Oh, sorry. I don't know. What's normal body temperature for Celsius? 36.6? What this probably is, Kiwi Annie, is blood pressure. My hypertension is generally very well managed with medication. But when I get sick, boy, it goes right off the charts. Goes right off the charts. So I should probably check it. Should we check it? Let's just check it. Why the hell? It's all about me tonight. Forget about Ukraine. It's all about me. I really swore I would try not to do that on this channel, but it is not going great right now. 37. Well, my temperature at the doctor's office was 36.6. Oh yeah, I have like some kind of viral infection in this eye. Oh, it's awful. Drink tea. I've been drinking tea. I haven't had a cup of coffee in days. I've been drinking tea morning, noon, and night. Hey, Bobby. How you doing, buddy? Ukraine needs more of everything, John. If anybody's got a Black Hawk handy, send it over. Oh, it's not bad. Look, 123 over 74. Look at that. That's not bad. Like I said, it's generally very well managed with medication. So I don't know. Maybe I do have a little fever. Look, forget about that. Thanks to you guys, especially thanks to Scully, Ted, and Tony, I can be here in this hotel, which I'm very grateful to you guys for. Very, very grateful. And I am feeling much better, so thank you all. Oh God, here come all of the home remedies. All right, questions about Ukraine. See, Clive, there's good answer. This is a good answer. Again, big thanks to Altered Carbon, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Guys, I am not accepting live sponsorships. Because I'm going on vacation, because I'm going to be traveling, I do not know when I can fulfill those for you. So I have a handful of sponsors right now to get me through the week. I'm not entirely sure even what the schedule looks like. Uh, Tomorrow, there may not be a live. Tomorrow, I may be in transit to Poland. I'm just not sure. So if I'm not here, that's why. All right, Pete. Could Ukraine do a counteroffensive in spring? I don't know the answer to that. I will try to do vids, Bobby. Like, I should certainly publish some videos tomorrow. Um, I hope, I don't want to make too much of a commitment because I'm not well. I'm really not. See, Chef Deb, I think that that's right. I really do. I don't like it. I don't like it at all, but it's a fact. Um, so I don't have. Yes, Drew. Thank you. Thank you, Chrissy. I don't have. I'm going to ask people to not send money for lives because they're going to be inconsistent. I already have some lives lined up. I'm not sure. There's a handful of people I owe lives to, and so we're going to get those done this week. Altered Carbon was at the top of that list for tonight, so big thanks to Altered Carbon. I have a few more spots left for travel log videos. So when I'm in China, I'm going to do some, we're going to go see some shit in China. So I'm going to produce some videos in China, and I've got 3 sponsors for that: Ted, Scully, and Tony. And I'm looking for some more. So if anybody can sponsor a video from China and Amsterdam. After China, I'm going up to the North Sea. I'm going to be staying in a historic house that was part of the Nazis' Atlantic Wall. So there was a machine gun anti-aircraft nest installed on this Dutch house on a dike up on the North Sea. Super cool history. It's a historic site. It's currently being renovated as part of some historic preservation society kind of thing. And so I'm headed up there to see that on the way back home to Kyiv from China. I don't know what town, Drew. I don't know. I've seen pictures, and it doesn't look like much of a town at all. It doesn't look like there's no town nearby. In fact, to get to the house, you have to cross a canal. So you have to go to this ferry terminal and take a ferry across to the other side. Not the UK, the Netherlands. The Netherlands. It is very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Um, so again, if anybody wants to sponsor a travel log video, I would take that. But I don't send live sponsorships, please, because I don't know when I'm going to get to it. Okay, I think I'm done. Guys, everybody, thanks so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Thanks again to Altered Carbon, the sponsor of tonight's live. Thanks again to Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group, and to the best moderators on the Tickety Talk. Thanks, everybody. Make it a great day. Have a pleasant tomorrow. And if you're in Wellington or Auckland, shoot me a text message, would you please? A direct message, please. Thanks, Altered Carbon. Thanks, everybody. Make it a great day.